morning. Welcome, everyone. This is a meeting of the Boulder County Commission on Tuesday, April 5th, 2016. And we're here this morning for a public hearing on the update of the Rocky Mountain Greenway efforts in Boulder County. And we will begin with staff presentation and take questions from commissioners and then open it up for public hearings. So,
good morning.
Take it away,
Good morning,
Megan.
Commissioners. Megan Davis, Boulder County Commissioner's Office. Thank you for the time today. We are here to give you an update on the Rocky Mountain Greenway project and to talk with you about Federal Lands Access Program grant opportunity. And I will be presenting today with Jeff Moline from the Parks and Open Space. So to provide a little bit of history of the Rocky Mountain Greenway, the Greenway was established in 2012 through the President's America's Great Outdoors Initiative. And this initiative was intended to link more Americans to outdoor experiences. The Secretary of the Department of Interior at that time, Secretary Ken Salazar, really spearheaded the initiative and focused on Colorado and wanted to encourage linkages between all the federal lands that are in Colorado, specifically on the Front Range. Focusing with Rocky Mountain Arsenal, Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge, Two Ponds National Wildlife Refuge, and Rocky Mountain National Park. So he joined, the federal interest joined with Governor Hickenlooper, and they kicked off this Rocky Mountain Greenway concept, which really would be to start to bring local governments together along with states and federal entities to talk about how we can start to link those federal lands together. A steering committee was developed for the Greenway, and the steering committee involves participation of local, state, and federal representatives. Commissioner Gardner sits on that steering committee. There are also representatives from Boulder, Larimer County, Jefferson County, City and County of Denver, as well as some environmental education folks and Trust for Public Lands, Friends of the Refuge, and a few others. The original Greenway vision was really, as you can see, sort of a line on the map that drew connections to Rocky Mountain, from Rocky Mountain Arsenal, National Wildlife Refuge, through Arvada to Two Ponds National Wildlife Refuge, to Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge, and then up through Boulder County to Rocky Mountain National Park. It's important to note that when this concept, this kind of vision came out, like many of these regional trails that are multi-jurisdictional trails, the lines on the map don't necessarily represent the exact alignment, and there has to typically be a lot of work on the ground to really determine where the most appropriate alignment is. There are issues such as land ownership, terrain, many different issues that would determine, where an appropriate alignment would be. So on this line, you can see at the bottom of the map, you can see some of the linkages that have been complete, and then at the top of the map, you can see many sections, or the entire linkage, that has not been complete. Thanks, Jeff. So the Greenway had a couple of different purposes and sort of some principles that went along with that. As I mentioned, it was really intended to link folks to recreation opportunities, also to strengthen communities and economies, support locally driven projects, increase access to open spaces and recreation opportunities, to identify missing linkages and connections that might connect people to their federal lands. And it was really important that these trails would be dependent on local planning processes. There was a lot of discussion among the Greenway steering committee around local processes and planning that needs to occur when any trail is going to go in place. And so the Rocky Mountain Greenway really recognized that has to happen at the local level. Utilizing existing trails was also a priority, not necessarily building one big long new trail that was going to make those connections, but using existing trails, and also recognizing that trail types and surfaces exist throughout different communities, and there wasn't necessarily a desire to pave all of those trails and have one continuous paved trail that would lead all the way from the Arsenal to Rocky Mountain National Park. So to date, the efforts have really been focused on the linkages from the Rocky Mountain Arsenal National Wildlife Refuge, again through Two Ponds, and then to Rocky Flats. And the most recent work that's being completed is in Westminster, which is the linkage from Stanley Lake that will go into Broomfield and then to Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge. There was a feasibility study that was conducted that engaged the local communities in identifying what the possible routes would be through those areas in Arvada and Westminster and Broomfield. So for the Boulder County segments, we're really in the preliminary phases of looking at what these connections might look like through Boulder County. Funding was provided through the Federal Highway Administration, Central Federal Lands, to conduct a feasibility study that would look at connections through Boulder County. That feasibility study is underway. It's involved participation of staff from Boulder County, City of Boulder, Town of Superior. I'm not sure, Alliance has participated in a few of those meetings. Alliance has participated in some of those meetings. Federal entities have participated in some of those meetings, and I think that's really it. And what we're really looking at in that feasibility study is the connection really from sort of boundary to boundary in Boulder County. Not necessarily all the way from Lyons up to Rocky Mountain National Park at this point, but really seeing how the Rocky Mountain Greenway might move through Boulder County, again, using existing trails that we already have in place. That feasibility study, we anticipate that we'll see the results of that after some of the planning processes that are occurring at the local level, including the North TSA planning process, is complete. So it's likely in the summer of 2016 of this year, we'll see that feasibility study, which will outline some of the potential routes for Rocky Mountain Greenway. So, you know, that again could include multiple routes through Boulder County and looking at some different options for routes that could go through Boulder County to make those connections. It won't necessarily be just one distinct alignment. The project was also included in Governor Hickenlooper's Colorado the Beautiful 16 Trails in 2016 initiative. This is an initiative that the governor put forward, similar to America's Great Outdoors, to link Coloradans to the trails and open spaces that we have available. And there isn't really any funding with this. It's really just to identify and highlight some priority projects within communities that can are sort of those missing links that people have an interest in moving forward, that have maybe needed just a little bit more support. The Eldorado Canyon Trail is another one of those trails that was included in 16 Trails in 16, as is the Front Range Trail, which you may know is a very long-standing kind of conceptual alignment running all the way along the Front Range, all the way from Fort Collins through Jefferson County to the south, but I think all the way down to Pueblo. So again, a very conceptual alignment, but the 16 and 16 initiative showing an interest in the trail as well. And then there was some GOCO funding that had been allocated for a linkage from Lyons to Estes Park after the flood. That was $8 million. And those funds, feasibility study was conducted on that linkage from Lyons to Estes, and was going to be pretty much cost prohibitive given the terrain and the composition of lands there and the need to acquire easements and acquire land. And of course, I think we all know what the terrain looks like there. So GOCO and Colorado Parks and Wildlife have reallocated those funds for use in Boulder County for a connection from Boulder to Lyons. We do not have a sense of what that connection is going to look like yet. We, again, will wait until the Rocky Mountain Greenway feasibility study comes out, which will give us some ideas that we've identified potential alignments, and then there will have to be more planning and potentially a drill down feasibility study to look at which option might work. So those are some of the activities that have the Greenway itself, the committee has been really focused on signage and kind of marking amenities so that people know that when they're on a trail, that way may also be, for example, the Sand Creek Greenway trail, that it's also a part of the Rocky Mountain Greenway, so that people can start to recognize that this is all a part of linking these federal lands together. So that's been a lot of the conversation at the Rocky Mountain Greenway steering committee as well.
Would you mind if I were to use your 3 minutes in?
So I'd like to move into this flat plan proposal. Boulder County was approached by Jefferson County a couple of months ago, and a federal lands access program grant opportunity was going to be opened up. And so they approached several of the communities who have been involved in the Rocky Mountain Greenway, and they expressed interest in joining together in a regional proposal to look at how we can make some of the connections into the refuge. And Rocky Flats Refuge has several border communities, and so what they wanted to look at were how those neighboring communities might be involved in these linkages into the refuge. A little bit about the FLAT program. It's Federal Highway Administration funding. The federal funding is intended to improve transportation facilities that provide access to or are adjacent to or located within federal lands. Applicants must be state or local. The federal land agency themselves cannot apply. And right now, $16.5 million is available in Colorado for this current round of funding. The application deadline is May 21st. It is a 5-year grant cycle. What that means is for this round of funding, they will fund projects for a 5-year period, and depending on where the projects are situated in the planning process, they'll determine sort of in what year they get funding. And my understanding is that they may go back out for additional applications if some projects drop out, or if they don't spend all the money at this point, or if projects don't use all the money that they were awarded, then throughout that 5-year period, they may go back out and solicit additional applications. But this is essentially the application period, request for proposals for this 5-year cycle. So the proposal that Jefferson County put forward, they convened a meeting and they invited these 7 local governments, and the way that they outlined the proposal was for participation of the 7 local governments: Boulder County, Jefferson County, City of Arvada, City of Boulder, City and County of Broomfield, City of Westminster, and Town of Superior. And each of these parties will be considering this proposal individually. So this is our opportunity to talk about this request to join in this joint proposal today. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the project in detail.
I'm going to speak from here so I can use the laser. So the proposal consists of 2 sites. The first one, labeled here, Site 1, as you can see, is a crossing of the trail of Indiana. And so this occurs in Jefferson County. So this part of the application is something that we're not going to spend any more time discussing. It's this second site here in this drawing, and this is the crossing that would go from the northern boundary of Rocky Flats into the southern part of Boulder County. And the site right now is proposed to have 2 separate crossings. We'll get into those in a little bit of detail. The thing I want to point out here is that the idea that this trail would allow connections going 2 ways. One to the west and north is a connection to the single track High Plains Trail, and then a connection to the northeast along our Colton Trail. So again, in the spirit of the Rocky Mountain Greenway, there may be these a variety of experiences, a variety of alternative trail experiences for people. So people could have a mountain biking experience on this western alignment, and then one that's just a more traditional, wider trail experience on the northeast. Zooming in here to the northern boundary of Rocky Flats, and then the southern boundary of the county's Lindsay property, which is depicted in this green outline here. You can see the proposed two crossing locations. The trail crossing is this one on the west, and the Rocky Mountain Greenway alignment would use some of the trails that are proposed in the Rocky Flats plan to get to this point along State